Hello, today we're doing this charcoal drawing of a beach in case you are missing hot summer days like I am. It's not a very complicated scene, it's something you could do in an hour or two. So let's have a look. I'm going to be working on a piece of paper about 9 times 12 inches in size. I'm going to be using vine charcoal, woodless charcoal pencil, tortillon for blending, and a pencil eraser for erasing, and a kneaded eraser here and there. Also, I'm going to be using this piece of glassine paper to put under my hand to avoid smudging. Of course, for sketching I'm going to use a graphite pencil, and also I'm going to be using a brush a little bit for blending. So let's start with a sketch. One of the first things that I always do is try to give myself a rough idea where everything's going to be, where I'm going to place the elements. The composition is very important, and my palm trees are going to be on the left side, and there's also going to be some bushes and some foliage, and then the sky will take up much of the upper portion of the drawing, and the water and the beach will be in the lower right portion. So I'm starting to work on the sky. First I'm going to cover everything with vine charcoal. I'm not too worried about how it's going to turn out right now, because obviously vine charcoal can be blended pretty well. I just need a little bit of value so that the clouds will stand out, because I intend to draw a few clouds here and there. So I'm just going to cover everything with vine charcoal. And now I'm blending that with a paper towel. The paper towel in a combination with vine charcoal allows for pretty smooth blending. So for now that's good enough. I'm just gonna make some suggestions of some rocks or some land in the distance, because the part of the beach that I'm going to be drawing is going to be like a small cove or something. This is where the waterline will be, and now I am going to do those bushes and the foliage on the left, and you can see that I left out the white spaces where the palm trees are going to be, where the trunks are going to be. I'm just kind of scribbling and working over this with a tortillon, trying to create some variation in those bushes to suggest areas of lighter and darker value, but I'm going to be refining that with a pencil eraser in a minute. So first I want to create this messy area of darker value with some variation, and then I'll just go in and add some more detail a little bit later. So this is where my first palm tree is going to be. I want the left side of the tree to be lighter so that it has a little bit of an edge, a little bit of contrast in comparison to the background. Also, to make the background a little bit smoother, you can add a little bit of white charcoal on top of the vine charcoal if you feel like it needs to be even smoother. And now I'm adding some more details here to these palm trees and this foliage here, maybe adding some larger leaves, maybe some lower palm trees, maybe some bushes and fern and stuff like that. So I'm going to be adding some highlights on those to make some of these leaves stand out against the rest of this dark area, and to make that dark area a little bit more interesting and to create some illusion of detail there. So for this, like I said, I'm mostly using a pencil eraser. This is a Kohinoor pencil eraser. I occasionally have to resharpen it and maybe cut off the tip so that I can get clean edges which allow me to produce these nice fine lines, white lines. But there's no reason to be too worried about the detail, because these bushes aren't the focus of my drawing anyway. I just want to create an area of darker value so that these palm trees would stand out a little bit better, I guess. I'm going to have a few leaves of those palm trees all the way on the left, like maybe there's some more trees coming up from there. And now I'm going to do the leaves on the first palm tree. They have these large, broad leaves, which are fairly easy to draw. So it's not that hard to draw a palm tree, but I guess in terms of shape, but I guess adding some more volume to it is a different matter, because I can't just leave it like that. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of shading and maybe try to pull some highlights to give that canopy a little more volume. So initially I did a little bit of blending with a brush to make those leaves a little more dense, and then I tried to pull a few highlights, but I felt like they weren't really coming up as much as I wanted, so I decided to add a little more charcoal to make some of these areas even darker. And then after that I feel like some of the highlights I later pulled with my pencil eraser kind of made some of these leaves stand out a little bit better. And I just kept adding a few more details here and there to those leaves where I felt a little bit more work was needed. Also, if you notice, my camera was a little bit out of focus for a few seconds there, sorry about that. And as you can see, I'm working on the canopy of the other tree as well, using the same approach, just trying to create a slightly different shape. I don't want them to look identical. And you can see that I shaded the area just under those leaves a little bit darker because of the shadow, and the rest of the trunk is a lot lighter. So again, I'm using my pencil eraser to pull some highlights on some of the leaves, to trying to make it look like some of them are kind of sticking out. But that's probably good enough for now, so I'm going to move on to these clouds. And I examined a number of reference photos with beaches and palm trees and clear and cloudy sky above the sea, and and oceans. So I wanted to have my clouds kind of lower and closer to the horizon. So that's what I'm going to do. And again, I'm using a pencil eraser. In a lot of my drawings, when I'm using vine charcoal, I use a combination of vine charcoal and a kneaded eraser. But here I wanted to do the upper edges of those clouds with a pencil eraser because I feel I can rub out cleaner shapes, cleaner lines, and then I can do the rest maybe with my finger or with a kneaded eraser, where I still want to take away a little bit of the value, but I want it to be a little bit softer. But when I want a little more contrast, I'm going to be using this pencil eraser and just trying to erase cleaner lines. Here, as you can see, I'm also trying to draw some clouds in front of the other clouds to give them more depth. So I'm trying to draw some shapes, some of these lighter shapes in front of the other ones. So that's going to be the first row of clouds there. I'm just going to add a few more here in the middle and on the left. And I'm going to be adding some more clouds above these, just a little bit higher, to complete my sky. Like I said, it's not a very complicated scene. You can't really go wrong when drawing these beach type landscapes, and it's, like I said, it's probably something that you can do in an hour or two maybe. It doesn't really take that long. There are some challenges obviously, but I feel that it's not a very difficult scene. These waves might give me some trouble because I'm going to need to create some white foamy water. But now I decided to add a little bit of value to the sand and to try to create some variation in the sand as well. Just a little bit. I don't really need too much detail there, but I'm also going to want to draw some shadow under those bushes and trees. So like I said, I'm just using my brushes and vine charcoal to create a little bit of variation in the sand. And now I'm going to try to draw some shadows here for these bushes and these trees. I used vine charcoal and spread it around with my blending tools because I don't want any lines, I don't want any texture, I want everything to look very soft and smooth so that it looks like a real shadow. And I'm just trying to kind of match the angle under which the light is coming. Now, as you can see, I'm working on the water. I'm going to shade the upper part a little bit darker with just a few suggestions of waves in the distance, and then I'm going to stack some waves closer to us coming up on the beach. So just a few suggestions of waves here and there, just a few marks or lighter value, but now I have to kind of stack a couple of waves like they're coming up on the beach one after the other, and also using my tortillon to create a little bit of variation in that foamy water, even though I will be refining that a little bit with my pencil eraser. Now obviously on a larger size drawing, and if I wanted to put even more time into it, all of this could be done with a lot more detail, especially in the water and the waves. But I'm not really an expert in drawing waves, and I'm just going to try to do my best to create some suggestions of foamy splashing water, just enough to trick you that these are real waves. So I want one of the waves here to be kind of breaking, and the water is splashing and flowing over on the other side. Over the crest of the wave. And to achieve that, I need to add these darker areas of darker value in between these waves to give the waves a little more shape and volume and depth. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to use my pencil eraser to try to add a little more texture to that foamy water, and maybe make it look like the water is splashing around, trying to erase a few dots here and there. But it doesn't need to be too defined because it's viewed from a distance anyway, so it's not a big deal. Just a few more of these indications of splashing water, and a little bit more work with a tortillon, trying to make some of these edges stand out a little bit. Maybe I'll add some more land here on the right, just to balance out the scene a little bit more. Trying to clean up this edge of the first wave on the shore, and the crest of this wave all the way on the right. I want this foamy part to stand out as much as I can achieve with my pencil eraser, even though at this point it's not really picking up that much. And I'm adding some of these vertical lines just to perhaps create some suggestions of some reflections, because this is water after all. So a lot of erasing obviously, and I am also cleaning up the edges of some of these clouds, because I may have smudged them a little bit. I'm just going to add a few more lines here and a little bit more value there, so that this area of the sand in the lower right portion looks kind of like it's wet. And I'm also gonna have to add a little bit of shadow here, all the way on the left, to have some shadow from those leaves of that palm tree, which I haven't shown completely. And now my scene is mostly finished. I'm just going to put my signature in the lower right corner, as I usually do. So there's my charcoal drawing of a beach. I hope you enjoyed this narrated video. Make sure you give me a like and subscribe and comment to let me know what you think. And also don't forget to check out my other videos. Bye.